Good morning and welcome to today's Almost Daily Devotional. During the Easter season, we're going to be looking at the book of Acts. We're going to be looking at the books of Acts and how the apostles who came after Jesus' resurrection were required to be daring, to reach out and take risks for God. And we're going to read through the book of Acts. We won't hit everything, it's a big book, but we'll hit a lot of it. And today we're going to start with chapter 1 and the first verse. Theophilus, the first scroll I wrote concerned everything Jesus did and taught from the beginning, right up to the day when he was taken into heaven. Before he was taken up, working in the power of the Holy Spirit, Jesus instructed the apostles he had chosen. After his suffering, he showed them that he was alive with many convincing proofs. He appeared to them over a period of 40 days, speaking to them about God's kingdom. While they were eating together, he ordered them not to leave Jerusalem, but to wait for what the Father had promised. He said, "This is what you heard from me. John baptized with water, but in only a few days you will be baptized with the Holy Spirit." As a result, those who had gathered together asked Jesus, "Lord, are you going to restore the kingdom to Israel now?" Jesus replied, "It isn't for you to know the times or seasons that the Father has set by his own authority. Rather, you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth." As Jesus said these things, as they were watching, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. While he was going away, and as they were staring towards heaven, suddenly two men in white robes stood next to them. They said, "Galileans, why are you standing here looking toward heaven? This Jesus, who was taken up from you, went into heaven, will come in the same way that you saw him go into heaven." All were united in their devotion to prayer, along with some women, including Mary, the mother of Jesus, and his brothers. So a couple things here. This is a pretty common literary form in the Greco-Roman world. They had what were called basically biographies of prophets or people who were major thought leaders. So if you were a prophet or a thought leader who had a community that developed up around you, and you had followers after your death, then you got this treatment. You got the biography treatment. And so the first scroll would always be the life of the prophet, the life of the notable figure. And then the second scroll would be about why the community formed around this person. So this is Luke's way of transition of saying this is why the church is important, right? This is why the church has value, and this is why the church came to be. This is why the disciples and the apostles were so important, and why we continue to have the church. And so what he's saying here is that Jesus took the time after the resurrection. Jesus could have immediately gone back to heaven, but Jesus took the time to be with the apostles for 40 days. Now, 40 days is a biblical number. It doesn't necessarily mean 40 days. It means a time. Jesus was with them for a time, as long as they needed to be prepared for Jesus to go back to heaven where he came from. And so when he did, the apostles were prepared for the next step, to go to the next step, to become the community that needed to exist in order for Jesus's message to continue to spread. And it's really interesting. The first thing that we note about this community is that they are united in prayer. Now, we spend a lot of time doing things at church, a lot of times as a Christian doing things, and not a lot of time doing things that are prayer. Not a lot of time doing things that involve just being together and lifting up concerns to God and uniting in a community to consider what is it God is seeking for us to do? What is God calling us to do? And so it's notable that the first thing that the apostles did as soon as Jesus left and went to heaven was to try to talk to him again, was to pick up the phone and to try to speak to Jesus in prayer. And we get mixed up. You're not successful. You're not a better church or a better Christian because you do things. The number of things you do, the number of worship services, the number of Sunday school classes. You're a better church when you pray together.